welcome to Jargal Defacto Review, our weekly in-depth analysis of current news and affairs with our commentator Jargal Defacto.
Good evening.
And I'm your host, Batsir Namshir. You can join in our conversation on MNB World Facebook page and on Twitter with hashtag Jargal_Defacto. For our top stories, has conducted a 3-month review of all the current mining licenses. Based on the results of the review, on Wednesday, December 18th, Cabinet voted to temporarily suspend the issuance of mineral exploration licenses for 1 year. Over the past 3 months, the government has revoked more than 700 licenses due to violations of laws and regulations. On Friday, December 20th, Mongolian parliament adopted amendments to the election law, expediting the legislation as changes to the election law aren't allowed 6 months prior to election day. Since the 2016 elections, members of parliament belonging to the majority party, the MPP, have said that would amend the election law. Previously, Mongolia's presidential election, parliamentary election and citizens' representatives Jargal elections were governed by separate election laws. Before the parliamentary election of 2016, the previous parliament made major changes to the election law by consolidating all 3 laws into a general one. Typically, Mongolia's legislators amend the election law prior to every election. Olsing joins the company, or State Department store joins the company, has never distributed dividends to its small shareholders, claiming that the company has been operating at a loss for many years. However, the Financial Regulatory Commission found that Olsing has been profitable, but that the company was intentionally operating at a loss. As of the first quarter of 2019, Olsing joins the company had a total of 44,000 small shareholders. These small shareholders have gone to local media to express their outrage with what they claim is fraud. The head of the Financial Regulatory Commission was recently fired following Mongolia's inclusion on the Financial Action Task Force grey list. So the government has temporarily suspended the issuance of mineral exploration licenses. How will this decision affect investment in the sector?
Certainly, mining is the only industry or sector that can attract decisive large-scale foreign direct investment to Mongolia. So far, we don't have another alternative. So it's a very important sector where we should be very careful, and the government and the civic society and the people, because that's the way how we earn 85% of our currency, foreign currency. So that's why this decision is to suspend for a whole year the exploration license is not helping us in that directions. However, we need a lot of order in the sector, and Prime Minister Khurusuk government is trying to do a certain order. First of all, they try to make an order in-house, meaning that they have been inspecting all licenses. Total, we have today 2,889 licenses after writing out several of them. And out of this 1225 is exploration license, and 1664 is a production license. Okay, and this out of this production license, 1/3 is for gold production, 20% for construction materials, 18% is for coal production. The remaining is for fluorspar, metal and the earth, rare elements and other minerals. And how they try to make order, they have checked each and every license with the allowed criteria, including whether the license has on the feasibility study. Turned out there are some. And also what is the impact of that mine on nature, environment, and whether it is reflected the proposal or opinion of the local people. That's very interesting particular provision. They also whether there have been reporting about the exploration or the production work, and whether they have been doing the renewation of the land, etc., etc. Many 38 different degrees, the criteria they made, and they will complete soon all these inspections, and they asked Minister Sumia Bazar of mining industry to have a proper measurement after that. That's first. Secondly, what they try to do is, it's very interesting thing. It is to create one common database, which we found out that we don't have. About mining licenses, we have several related authorities like mining industry, mineral and petroleum agency, or professional inspection agency, customs, taxes, police, etc. Each has own database which are not interconnected, and all have a semi-database. So it's a time to bring one.
Does this mean that Mongolia lacks stable policy in the mining sector?
It turned out, yes, it is not stable at all, because first we change government a lot, every almost 1.5 year on the average since 2000. Secondly, with this change of government, the policy has been changed. Though we have tons of paper concepts about the mining development, etc., but unfortunately they keep changing. As a result, what is happening is we have a mess in honoring exploration and production licenses first, and we have problem with renovation of the land after mining. The third, we have not successfully using proceeds from mining industry for diversifying economy. The fourth, as a result of all this, the industry has a lot of corruption, and as a result of that corruption, we have a extending inequality in terms of income in the society. So that's why we need to fix that system. And more than that, only 1% of the land territory of Mongolia is used for production. Only 3.7% is used for exploration, which is not really very modest amount compared with other developed nations, because every nation, in particular like Mongolia, we should know what is under the ground of this country, and we should know how can and when we shall use it, and what we will leave for our next generations. So Mongolia has to go, on the contrary, to go ahead a lot in terms of exploration, and of course, when all the related laws required, the production is to be made.
How was mining industry performance this year, particularly as an essential sector of our economy?
Well, in general, it's like as previous years, but there is certain changes. Before giving the statistics, I would like to share some points about the state budget-based exploration, which is not very substantial. At years, they had not enough money. Even when they have given enough money, for example, 24 billion 2 weeks was given for exploration by state companies, in this year, 2019, but the quality of the work was not enough, was not good. Why? Because we don't have enough personnel qualified, and also the structure of industry, the management structure itself is problematic. So as a result, they don't also report properly what they have done. And the companies who have not been performing the jobs were still participating in tender, which shows still it is related to the decision makers. So that's the reason, one of the not very much shining picture of the situation now. As far as the performance of the industry up to now, so far, is well, as usual, it's 83% of our export earning by the end of last month, by November, and is still mining, and it is 83% is mining products. We have a total export of 7.1 billion US dollar, which is a 9% higher year-on-year base. And the total out of the $7.1 billion, 83%, as I said, from this mining industry. And when we talk about mining industry, we should talk about first about only two minerals. First, coal. Second, copper. Mm-hmm. In terms of coal, statistics says we have sold 35 million tons of coking coal to China, earned 2.9 billion US dollar. That's year-on-year base, 1.4 million tons higher. Mm-hmm. And because the price has changes from average 75 to 78 to 85. Mm-hmm. So, but however, in this industry, we should watch one thing. Russia, our northern neighbor, is becoming more exporter of the thermal coal and coking coal, and it is our becoming a strong competition to Mongolia. That's what we should consider next year, because it may impact on the international price to Chinese companies. Second is copper, as I said. This year, first 11 months, we sold 1.3 million copper concentrate, mm-hmm. Which is a year-on-year base 20,000 tons less, unfortunately. And we earned 1.8 billion US dollar, which is year-on-year base $100 million less. So copper around 2 billion, coal around 3 billion. That's what is the expectation of this year. And we should be really watching the situation, because now China, though, in spite of economic growth going lower, they still keep importing oil, the copper more, which is good news for us. However, we did it less than last year for first 11 months of the year.
Mm-hmm. Our next topic is about election law. According to the change to the election law, Mongolia will use a mixed electoral system for the parliamentary election. What's your opinion on this system?
You know, my opinion is the parliament is making big mockery on our people, because they keep changing election law every time before just election. 7 times we had election, and 7 times they have changed it. Mm-hmm. What is that? How can this ruling so-called political party, the few people in political parties, can change rule of games before the game? Mm-hmm. How can we, democratic nation, people, can watch it in such a calm way, how they are changing this rule of games? This time, again, they change it. Up to now, we were talking about 2 systems, 50 plus 26. But now, the final vote approved that they will have only 26 the constituencies, which 6 of them will be in Ulaanbaatar, 20 of them will be in countryside. Mm-hmm. We have 20 IMAX administrative units, 21, but they, according to the new amendments to the constitution, they changed it a little bit. Now, you see, half of the population is living in Ulaanbaatar, yet we have only 6 mm-hmm. candidates, 6 constituencies in Ulaanbaatar city. Mm-hmm. Logically, it's to be a half and half, right? So this is the new rule of game, first. Mm-hmm. Secondly, what does it mean? Every constituency will have, we will have 3 parliament members. So it means every large political parties, we have 31 political parties today in the country registered. Probably most of them, all of them will be inside of the election this time. And not everybody will put 3, depending on the circumstances, but large parties will put 3 candidates in each constituencies. One, this is the specifics of this year. Second, that means again, people will elect rather the candidates than the political parties. Mm-hmm. It again shows the political parties as institutions are not strong enough in this country to mm-hmm. be recognized as institutions. The third, to me, there are several changes. We don't have a time to talk all. of them. But first time now, the Mongolians living abroad will not participate in the election. That's the situation.
How will this change affect political parties?
Well, this new changes in the election law will shape up a little bit by all means. If you take any facet of the election system, there is some changes expected. For example, a person who had before public positions, public governance positions, and also got any legal penalty cannot run for election. And this particular provision is specifically designed for Mr. Inkbayar, who is the head of Mongolian Revolutionary Party, who was the third president of the country. So he's out of the game. It's specifically designed for that, first. Second, now they will have a time of promotion. Campaigning days are 22 days instead of 18 as before. So again, not 4 days more is good, but not substantially good for in particular those people who is not known for their people. It's very short time, to get this for new guys come and to get known during 22 days and being elected. So again, we most probably will face the same faces in the parliament, same, people a lot fed up with these people. But however, this is the way how they make rule of games. They are coming again. So, but however, that's what it is about. Also, there's a new rule about creating coalition and dispelling the coalition. And the other thing is there will be one list, say 26, and if all political 31 party put names, it should be either very big list with a readable format or very short list where you need special glasses probably. So, but however, that's the way how they have arranging this one. And the other thing, a very annoying thing was all these years, any disputes about the result or fairness about the election result was never solved during that year. It took sometimes 3 years so that constituency, a particular constituency, would remain without any representative in Mongolia for years. Now this time the election law says this dispute will be solved within the year of election. So that's two things. There are several things that will shape political parties, as you asked.
IDEA recommended limiting the amount of corporate donations made to political parties, but the ceiling for corporate donations has increased. Is that right?
Yes, it was for individuals from 1 million to 5, for political parties from 5 to 20 million, which is a substantial increase, 4 times, 5 times. But however, that is more close to the truth, the real situation first. Second, we have inflation for the last 10 years, a lot, 8%. If every year, 1 year, it is 10 years is 80%, so 2 is gone. And also it's good for making more transparency in the reporting of financing of the political campaign, if they do. Unfortunately, they don't do, and there is our Supreme Court who is supposed to make sure they don't do their job. So unfortunately, that's the situation. But also that increase of money is good for, we are coming more close to international standard where in democratic countries, political parties have 3 sources of revenues. One is by political party members themselves. The second is from the budget, by the way, which is almost matching that, 1/3, for example. The third is donation of other entities, which is okay, but it's to be only transparent, which is not the case in this country. And because it has increased, hopefully it will help more. Another point was, for example, Parliament member Chin Zorik was raising the issue about the head of election commission. And our election commission is consisting of bureaucrats who were serving for political parties in their own time. Instead, whole year we're talking about, in particular in our program, we're talking about replacing this election commission with the electorate commission, where the head is not necessarily to be political party members. It is to be just well recognized, accepted, an individual who is who doesn't belong to any political party. Then it will be more fair. That was the comment, and Mr. Parliament member Chinzarek suggests that, and nothing has taken. So the same election committee is going to be again in charge of election.
Our last story is about Osing Ichtilgur, or State Department store joins the company. There have been several news stories about publicly listed companies making their small shareholders unhappy. Are these reports true?
Yep, according to the, it's a court case now. Financial Regulatory Commission had approached district court saying that this department store is misusing the interests of 44,000 shareholders who altogether owns 15% of that department store, which was former state-owned. It's only the largest, oldest department store of the country, which was privatized recently, last for 30 years. And then now this 50%, 85% of the shares are concentrated in one family, and they are not distributing dividends. And the paper of the Financial Security Commission says that it says a very interesting thing, that it says, I'll find it now, it says they sued the leaders or the main shareholders of the company for misleading information. And they says, in this the documents, it says that this Noming, the owner of the company created Noming Realtor real estate company, and they have rented all 20,000 square meter of spaces in the best prime location of the town, very cheap, to their Noming Realtor, and who re-rented it to other people. And this company is making money, this company is making loss, which is very not unique picture of Mongolian former state-owned, later privatized companies' gloom picture. Unfortunately, this is the way, kind of misusing the public property, and nobody, by the way, by this time is punished legally in this country. We are allowing a small group of people taking advantage over small minor shareholders of this, not only this company, the other companies. A very interesting thing, it turned out a month ago they sued them to this Hangul district court, but recently the district court made decisions saying that the Financial Regulatory Committee is not subject to appeal like this. And the question is, if financial FRC is not subject, then who is the subject to take an interest, to defend the interest of the minor shareholders? So that's our legal systems work, and they have appealed to higher instance appeal court on that decisions, and hope there will be a little bit more decisions, better decisions.
Is this a failure of the Financial Regulatory Commission, the specialized government body responsible for the regulation and monitoring of different segments of the financial system, including the stock and security markets? Or is this due to ineffective legislation and regulations?
Well, let's say in this way. Of course, the regulatory commissions, either it is financial sector or energy sector, these are the people who not only controls if all things go fair or not. So once it's happening all the time to now, it means it's a failure. But good news is recently this 5 NGOs, which is the Security Traders Union, Stock Exchange, and also the Savings Center of Securities, and then there is a Mongolian Securities Exchange, and also there is a Transactions Payment Commission. So these 5 organizations recently had a long, lengthy meeting where they have agreed to issue advice or appeal to make better regulation in this sector, to create legal environment for private pension funds, and fund management regulations to be changed. And also they appeal to have changed the price for capital market products, service fees, etc. And also, most importantly, they suggest to create an one information database where the customers can receive from one place all related information of all securities in the country. So I think this is a good approach of NGOs to have more monetary power in this important capital market.
Can the stock market develop properly without improving corporate governance? What do you think?
Corporate governance is the key because the capital market is based on trust. And trust never comes to company where bad corporate governance. There is a NGO in the country called Company Governance National Council, and the website is governance.mn, and the people can approach these institutions to have a fair estimation, independent estimation or auditing of any report. They find it is irrelevant. We have a new law of company or amended law since 2011, where if you have 1%, if not only this public company, but joint company, but also public company, private company, if you have more than 1%, then you can have a right to sue a company if you find necessary. If you have more than 5%, then you have a right to put an issue to the agenda of board meeting of the company. If you have more than 10%, you have a right to call independent third-party auditing to the company. And I think it's one step ahead to better governance in the public company, without which Mongolian capital market will have a long time to grow. And plus, it is a role of the stock exchange, a role of regulatory commission to make sure that the public companies report on time by the format that's understandable, and all companies should do it, say, every quarterly. That's what we expectation, that's what the regulatory committee should do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jargal Defacto.
Thank you very much, and we have completed today our another review, which we will try to highlight 3 important events of past week.
Thank you for joining us. See you next Monday. See you next Sunday.
Good evening.